Why is it that some people seem to move forward financially no matter what happens, while others work hard for years and still struggle? Think about this. Two friends graduate from school at the same time. They get similar jobs, earn similar salaries, live in the same city, and face many of the same challenges. Fast forward 10 years. One owns a home, has investments, has money set aside for emergencies, and sleeps peacefully at night. The other is drowning in bills, living from paycheck to paycheck, and constantly wondering where all the money went. What caused the difference? Was one person simply luckier? Maybe. But luck doesn't explain most financial outcomes. The truth is that many people stay broke because of habits that seem harmless in the moment, but become incredibly expensive over time. And the scary part? Most people don't even realize they're doing them. Today, we're exposing the 10 biggest reasons people stay broke and, more importantly, how to avoid falling into the same trap. Because financial freedom doesn't begin with $1 million. It begins with awareness. Let's start with one of the biggest lies modern society has convinced us to believe. Reason 1. People are obsessed with looking rich. Imagine receiving your first major salary increase. You feel excited. You finally have extra money. But instead of investing it, you buy a new phone, upgrade your wardrobe, finance a nicer car, and suddenly your entire raise disappears. Sound familiar? This is one of the most common financial mistakes in the world. People spend money trying to look successful instead of becoming successful. Social media has made this problem even worse. Every day we're surrounded by luxury lifestyles, designer brands, exotic vacations, expensive restaurants, and flashy cars. What we don't see is the debt behind many of those lifestyles. We don't see the credit card balances, the loans, the financial stress, the reality. Many people spend years purchasing symbols of wealth while neglecting the things that actually create wealth. The irony? Truly wealthy people often don't feel the need to prove they're wealthy. Because real wealth isn't visible. Real wealth is the investment account nobody sees, the emergency fund nobody talks about, the financial freedom nobody posts online. And chasing appearances is one of the fastest ways to stay broke. Reason 2. They save whatever is left over. Here's a simple question. At the end of every month, how much money is left? For most people, almost nothing. That's because they follow a formula that sounds reasonable but rarely works. Income minus expenses equals savings. The problem? Human beings are incredibly good at spending whatever is available. Give someone more money, and they'll often find more ways to spend it. A bigger apartment, a nicer car, more subscriptions, more convenience, more everything. Financially successful people reverse the equation. They save first, then they spend what's left. The moment their paycheck arrives, a portion automatically goes towards savings, investing, or building assets. Before temptation has a chance to interfere, it's a small shift. But over 10 years, that small shift can create a massive difference. Because wealth isn't usually built by giant decisions. It's built by small decisions repeated consistently. Reason 3. Lifestyle inflation. Have you ever noticed something strange? People often get a raise, celebrate for a few weeks, and then somehow end up feeling exactly as broke as before. Why? Because as income rises, spending rises with it. This is known as lifestyle inflation, and it's one of the biggest silent wealth killers in the world. Imagine someone earning an extra $500 every month. That extra money could be invested, saved, used to pay off debt. Instead, they move into a more expensive apartment, upgrade their car, start ordering more takeout, subscribe to services they barely use. Before long, the entire raise has disappeared. Then they need even more money just to maintain their new lifestyle. The cycle repeats itself again and again. The truth is that earning more money won't automatically make you wealthy. If every increase in income is matched by an increase in spending, your financial situation barely changes. The people who build wealth aren't necessarily the ones who earn the most. They're often the ones who create the biggest gap between what they earn and what they spend. That gap is where wealth is born. Reason 4. They don't understand how money really works. Most people spend over a decade in school. They learn mathematics, history, science, geography. But almost nobody teaches them how money works. And that becomes a very expensive problem later in life. Many adults don't fully understand concepts like inflation, interest, investing, debt, compound growth, risk management. As a result, they enter adulthood financially blind. They work hard for money but never learn how to make money work for them. Imagine trying to play a game without understanding the rules. That's exactly what happens when people navigate life without financial education. They keep money in places where inflation quietly reduces its value. They avoid investing because it seems complicated. They carry high-interest debt for years. And they miss opportunity simply because nobody taught them what to look for. The good news? Financial literacy is easier to learn today than ever before. Books, podcasts, YouTube, online courses. The information is everywhere. The challenge isn't access. It's making the decision to learn. Because one financial lesson can save you thousands. And one bad financial habit can cost you tens of thousands. Reason 5, they use debt. To fund their lifestyle. Debt itself isn't always the enemy. In fact, some forms of debt can be useful. The real danger begins when debt becomes a lifestyle. When people stop asking, "Can I afford this?" and start asking, "Can I afford the monthly payment?" That's a completely different question. A luxury car suddenly seems affordable. A new gadget seems affordable. An expensive vacation seems affordable. Everything feels affordable when it's broken into monthly installments. But there's a hidden cost. Every debt payment steals from your future income. Every month, money that could have been invested, saved, or used to create opportunities gets redirected toward obligations. The worst part is that debt creates a false sense of wealth. People feel rich while spending borrowed money. But eventually the bill arrives. And when it does, many find themselves trapped in a cycle that's difficult to escape. The wealthiest people understand something important. Debt should be a tool, not a way of life. Reason 6, they choose comfort over freedom. Human beings naturally want immediate rewards. It's normal. Spending money feels good. Buying something new feels exciting. Saving money, not so much. Investing, even less exciting. The challenge is that financial success often requires doing things that don't feel rewarding right away. It requires patience, discipline, and the ability to delay gratification. Imagine two people receiving an extra $1,000. One spends it immediately. The other invests it. The spender gets excitement today. The investor gets opportunities tomorrow. The difference may seem small in the moment, but repeated hundreds of times over years, it creates completely different lives. Modern society constantly encourages consumption. Every advertisement is telling you to buy something. Every influencer is promoting something. Every platform is competing for your attention and your money. Very few people are encouraging patience. Yet patience is one of the most powerful financial advantages anyone can develop. Reason 7. They have no financial roadmap. Imagine boarding a plane without knowing its destination. Would you feel comfortable? Probably not. Yet millions of people approach money this exact way. They work, they earn, they spend, and they hope everything somehow works out. Hope is not a financial strategy. Without goals, money tends to disappear. Without direction, progress becomes difficult to measure. Financially successful people usually know what they're working toward. An emergency fund, a debt-free life, a house, investments, retirement, financial independence. Their goals influence their decisions, and their decisions influence their results. You don't need a complicated spreadsheet. You don't need a finance degree. You simply need a destination, because money without direction rarely creates freedom. Reason 8. They keep waiting for the perfect time. One of the most expensive phrases in personal finance is, "I'll start later." People say they'll save later, invest later, learn later, budget later. The problem, later has a habit of never arriving. Years pass surprisingly fast, and many people spend those years waiting for ideal conditions, a better job, a higher salary, a bigger opportunity. But financial success rarely begins under perfect circumstances. It usually begins with imperfect action. Someone saves their first small amount, makes their first investment, reads their first financial book, creates their first budget. Small beginnings don't look impressive. But that's how every major financial journey starts, not someday. Today, Reason 9. They spend their life comparing themselves to others. For most of human history, people compared themselves to a small circle. Their neighbors, their friends, their community. Today, a single scroll on social media can expose you to the lifestyles of thousands of people. Luxury cars, dream vacations, massive houses, designer clothing, private jets, perfect-looking lives, and without realizing it, many people start measuring their own success against what they see online. The problem is that social media is often a highlight reel. People show the rewards, rarely the sacrifices. They show the success, rarely the struggle. They show the lifestyle, rarely the debt. What looks like wealth from the outside may actually be financial stress behind closed doors. Yet comparison creates pressure. Pressure to spend, pressure to upgrade, pressure to keep up. And keeping up is expensive. There will always be someone earning more, someone driving a nicer car, someone living in a bigger house. If your financial decisions are based on impressing strangers, you'll never reach the finish line, because the race never ends. The most financially successful people aren't focused on competing with everyone else. They're focused on becoming a better version of themselves. Their goal isn't to win somebody else's race, it's to win their own. Reason 10. They underestimate the power of time. If there is one force more powerful than money itself, it's time. Yet most people completely underestimate it. When people think about becoming wealthy, they often imagine dramatic breakthroughs. A lottery win, a viral business, a lucky investment, a sudden windfall. But real wealth is usually far less exciting and far more predictable. It's often the result of small actions repeated consistently for years. A little saved every month, a little invested every month, a little debt avoided every month. Nothing dramatic, nothing flashy, just consistency. The challenge is that consistency feels boring. People want immediate results. They want visible progress. They want success now. But wealth doesn't care about impatience. Wealth rewards discipline. Imagine planting a tree. For years it may seem like nothing is happening. But beneath the surface, roots are growing. Strength is building. Then one day, the growth becomes impossible to ignore. Money often works the same way. The people who succeed financially understand that today's choices affect tomorrow's opportunities, and they allow time to work in their favor instead of against them. The hardest truth now comes the uncomfortable part, a truth many people don't like hearing. Being broke is not always about how much money you earn. Income matters. Of course it does. But income alone doesn't guarantee financial security. There are people earning enormous salaries who are drowning in debt. People making six figures who are living paycheck to paycheck. People with impressive incomes and almost nothing to show for it. At the same time, there are people with ordinary incomes who are steadily building wealth. They aren't winning the lottery. They aren't becoming internet celebrities. They're simply making better financial decisions consistently. The difference often comes down to habits, not headlines, choices, not luck, discipline, not income alone. This isn't meant to blame anyone. Life can be difficult. Unexpected challenges happen. Emergencies happen. Economic conditions matter. But if we're honest, many financial struggles aren't caused by a single catastrophic event. They're caused by hundreds of small decisions repeated over time. The encouraging part? The same principle works in reverse. Just as small bad decisions can create financial problems, small good decisions can create financial freedom. One better choice at a time. So why do most people stay broke? Not because they're unintelligent, not because they're incapable, and not because financial success is reserved for a lucky few. Most people stay broke because they focus on appearances instead of assets, because they spend before they save, because lifestyle inflation consumes every raise, because they never learn how money truly works, because debt becomes normal, because short-term pleasure constantly beats long-term freedom, because they don't have a plan, because they keep waiting for the perfect time, because they compare themselves to everyone else, and because they underestimate the incredible power of consistency and time. The good news is that none of these habits are permanent. Every financial turnaround begins with awareness. The moment you recognize a mistake, you gain the power to change it. You don't need to become wealthy overnight. You don't need a perfect strategy. You don't need to know everything about investing, budgeting, or business before you start. You simply need to take the first step. Save a little, learn a little, invest a little, improve a little, then repeat. Because financial freedom is rarely built through one massive decision. It's built through thousands of small decisions made day after day, month after month, year after year. And while that may not sound exciting, it's actually good news. Because it means your future isn't determined by luck. It's determined by what you choose to do next. The person you become financially 5 years from now starts with the decisions you make today. So start today. Your future self will thank you for it. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more content on money, wealth building, financial psychology, and achieving financial freedom. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.